In 2014, two learners entered a competition that would change their lives forever. This is the inspiring story of Anita and Vuyo's journey from learners to leaders. It all started years back when the Moot Court competition was created. This annual competition was aimed at creating greater understanding in South African schools about the country's constitution and its values. A Moot Court competition is a special kind of debate where each argument you make must be supported by the law. Umncintiswano wenkantolo yokulingisa iwuhlobo olukhethekile lwenkulumo-mpikiswano lapho abangenela lo mncintiswano bengabeka imibono yabo esekelwa ngumthetho. Also, you present your arguments to a panel of judges instead of to Parliament. Instead of disproving another team's point, the aim is to prove your arguments to a judge, someone who really knows the law. It also includes an incredible prize. Winners receive financial assistance towards their first-year studies at any South African law school. For Vuyo, the journey started in a small village called Mandela Park in the Eastern Cape. The village's name was inspired by one of South Africa's greatest citizens, Nelson Mandela. Vuyo, who lived with his grandmother, had always dreamed of studying law because he knew his community needed someone to stand up for them and support them. He had read about Mandela's career as one of the country's first black lawyers and had always admired him. Vuyo really wanted to help fix the challenges facing them, but worried how he could ever afford to pay for the studies. However, one day he heard about the Moot Court competition on the radio. He now couldn't wait to speak to the teacher about it. Anita, another learner in Vuyo's school, had also heard the same announcement whilst driving home with her mother that day. Anita loved debating, and she was good at it too. Her parents supported her passion and always encouraged her to challenge herself in whatever she did. She knew she had to enter. By the next day, both of them had been on the National School's Moot Court competition website and spoken to their teachers about the competition. The competition is open to grade 10 and 11 learners from any South African school. Each school enters a team of 2 learners into the competition. Abafundi abafunda ezikoleni ezahlukene eziseningizimu Afrika abenza ibanga le-10 nele-11 bangabamba iqhaza kulo mncintiswano. Isikole ngasinye singafaka iqembu elinabafundi abahambisana ngamabili kulo mncintiswano. The school can select its own team through a fair and transparent method approved by the responsible authority within the school. If there are more than 2 learners interested at a particular school, a team can be selected based on internal elimination rounds. But only 1 team per school can be entered. Learners who have previously participated in the provincial and national rounds cannot enter the competition again, but can share their experiences and mentor new learners at their school. The team selected should ideally consist of a male and a female, but this is just a preference and not a requirement. The teams of learners then receive the materials for that year's competition, including the problem statement, the information pack, and the rules. Based on these materials, each team must draft 2 essays, one for the applicant side and one for the respondent side. The participants are then allowed to argue in any of the 11 official languages for the preliminary, provincial, semi-final, and final rounds. Abafundi ababambe iqhaza bangabhala izindaba zabo besebenzisa noma yiluphi ulimi kulezi ziyi-11 ezisemthethweni. Imibhalo iyofakwa emizuliswaneni yokuqala yezifunda eyandulela amanqamu neyamanqamu. Vuyo felt that he would need some help getting ready for the first round, the essays. Fortunately, Vuyo found out that the National School's Moot Court competition have coaches available in all provinces. The coaches are law students and practicing lawyers. Vuyo, along with Anita, sat down to draft their 2 essays for the fictional case that had been selected for them. This year, they had to argue what the limits are for young people to actively participate in their democracy and express themselves. Lafuno, a learner at Bright Future High School, was given an assignment for her art class to create a poster celebrating 20 years of democracy. She drew a picture of a scene she has seen in her own community. The school found her poster to be quite worrisome. They told her to change it. When she refused, they suspended her from school. What learners entering the competition are tasked with is to make the best possible arguments on behalf of the school as well as on behalf of Lafuno. A panel of experts then evaluates both essays, and the 9 best submissions in each one of the 9 provinces are identified to compete in the provincial oral rounds. Assistance is provided to learners on how to deliver oral arguments as much as is reasonably possible. The schools are allowed to seek assistance from previous participants, law students, or lawyers in the community. Each of the 9 teams is invited to present their oral arguments for both sides of the case in a magistrate's or high court in the province. They are given the opportunity to wear robes and act just as advocates do. The 4 teams in each of the 9 provinces with the highest scores are then invited to send 2 students and an educator to the national oral rounds in October in Pretoria. The 2 provincial winning teams with the highest scores will compete against each other to determine an overall winning team in the final oral round. Anita and Vuyo were overwhelmed by the information and rules, but knew it was an opportunity they had to grab. They then spent sleepless nights preparing with the aid of their coach, enjoying learning new words and fascinated with how the law could be used to change people's lives. And their efforts paid off. Their essays were selected in the top 9 entries in the Eastern Cape, so they were chosen to compete in the provincial rounds. They presented their oral arguments before 2 different panels of judges at the High Court in East London and anxiously waited to hear where they placed in the provincial rounds. It was, therefore, a huge sense of excitement when they heard the announcement. The judges had chosen them as one of 4 teams selected provincially to advance to the national rounds. A few months later, they stood proudly, shoulders back, on the steps of the South African Constitutional Court. They had turned what was just a desperate hope into their first steps towards the careers they had been dreaming of. And in entering the Moot Court competition, they had inspired their school, their family, and their friends. Their journey had just begun, but this was how 2 learners became leaders. Lokhu kuyisiqalo sohambo lwabo, lapho abafundi ababili bengagcina sebengabaholi abanohlonze.
I am Bilangul Rola. I'm a learner at Tembo High School. I'm currently in grade 11. I was the winner of Moot Court in 2012. I was 14 years old at the time, in grade 9, and I was also the best orator of that year. What I can say about the Moot Court is that it's such a beautiful competition. It allows you to explore the world. It allows you to explore the world of politics, the world of law, the world of how to be, the world of everything about our country. The Moot Court for me changed my life because I gained experience. I gained research skills. I gained experience of how it feels like to be a lawyer. It was such a good competition such that when I got back to school, I decided that I wanted to pursue a career in law, which I'm still intending to when I pass grade 12. And what I can say is that every learner has to be given an opportunity to enter into the Moot Court so that they can know how our country is. And what I'm going to do, whatever general competition after Rene, whatever the winner, ngabe bachi pursue a career.